Welcome back to Jolly Space Cow. There's something special about board games, isn't there? The way they turn your closest friends into ruthless schemers ready to sabotage your victory over a single dice roll. 5 years ago, I set out to create my own. A game called Rok-Sickle that made the Rok-Sickle feel like a chaotic adventure. Original game. I used a primitive but still usable 3D modeling software called Maker's Empire to make game pieces. They looked kinda wholesome and funny until you looked at them close up. Looking back on it now, I shouldn't have given them pinhole irises. Oh, and they're called Pebble Boys, by the way. To make the board, I drew elements from previous games I had played, like Monopoly and Mario Party. Players start at go and work their way around the board clockwise to reach the finish line. On their expedition, they will encounter safe spaces, move ahead spaces, move backwards spaces, bonus card spaces, quiz card spaces, and last but not least, go to jail spaces. The board also has a fork in the road where players can decide their route based on the turn's situation. Well, that was the thought at least. In practice, one way is a fair direction and the other way is basically a daredevil direction. There's one certain rule that makes gameplay hectic though. I'm not talking about the rule where you have to roll an even number to get out of jail, and it's not the rule where if you answer a quiz question incorrectly you go back 2 spaces. It's the rule of chain reactions. Let me explain. If I land on a bonus card space, for example, and I get a bonus card telling me I have to go forwards 3 spaces, but I land on a go to jail space after those 3 jumps, I have to go to jail.
Jolly Space Cow. That was an extremely confusing explanation. Please say that again, but a lot slower this time.
If I land on a bonus card space, for example, and I get a bonus card telling me I have to go forwards 3 spaces, but I land on a go to jail space after those 3 jumps, I have to go to jail. And if it were a move ahead 1 space, I would have to move ahead 1 space. Chain reactions are common throughout the game since there are so many action squares. Digital version Genesis. One day I was thinking about the board game, Rok-Sickle, and I wondered, what if I wanted to play the game on my computer? Or what if there was a ferocious natural disaster that destroyed the only physical copy of the game? I wanted to code a digital version of the game. Scratch is the only programming language I know how to code in. I've made some simple games in the past, like the game where the homesick alien has to navigate space and dodge asteroids to return to his home planet. When making Rok-Sickle digital, I had fun especially when making the SVG assets and choosing the sound effects. I had the code working to some extent. Only trouble is, I couldn't get multiplayer to work, and I couldn't make the fork in the road navigatable without the game breaking and the player sometimes leaving the game squares. I was disappointed I couldn't repair the code, but it was just too complicated. I tried to make the little comment bubbles, but I couldn't understand my own code. 3 years and 6 months later, DeepSeek. DeepSeek R1 was released. It's a chatbot sort of like ChatGPT, but it has better reasoning abilities. Basically, it uses test time compute during inference to dynamically allocate computational resources towards generating more thoughtful and carefully responded responses. Qualitative improvements observed in response accuracy, consistency, and logical soundness. Or I guess you could just say the chatbot puts its thinking cap on and rambles to itself to give you a better answer. It is for this reason I thought I would be able to tell the chatbot the specifications of my board game so it could write the code for me. Maybe it was because I overestimated the model's capabilities, but I couldn't get it to produce anything that looked like a board game. The model also took a long time to respond, and sometimes it would just say, server busy. Unfortunately, I gave up and told myself I would try again once a more smart model comes along. But I wouldn't have to wait long. Grok 3! Only a few days later, Elon Musk's AI lab called XAI released Grok 3, and it was a chatbot that also had thinking capabilities. Grok really came in to save the day since it doesn't need a subscription service to be useful. Claude and ChatGPT both have capable models, I think, but they have harsh message limits and rate limits on their free tiers. Grok Coder. So I told Grok about my game, and it helped me create a basic prototype at first. Oh, and I was using Python, by the way.
It's Monty Python, okay? Python, not Python.
I was using the Python programming language. If I tried to first learn how to code in Python, and then try and make a digital version of Rok-Sickle, it would have taken me a whole lot longer. After some back and forth refining, it started to work more and more just like the original game. That was until there were so many lines of code that Grok couldn't output it all in one go. I switched to using Cursor and Windsurf since they are dedicated AI coding programs that utilize the chatbots as AI agents. Because I was using Cursor and Windsurf, I was even able to use the Claude 3.7 Sonnet model. It's supposed to be more advanced, but it still broke the code sometimes. Wait a moment, Claude 3.7 Sonnet? That's so February 2025. Well, after all, I was vibe coding this game around that time. Digital assets. I tried to find the original Pebble Boy model since I didn't have access to the original high quality renders. I remodeled it in Blender. This time, the design turned out to be cute instead of uncanny. I was able to reuse the SVG images and sound effects from the failed Scratch version of the game. Animation. I remembered back to when I was playing Mario Kart Wii and how once you cleared a difficult Grand Prix like the Special Cup, the credits would play alongside a cool cinematic. I decided I was gonna recreate the board in Blender and animate a Pebble Boy playing the game going around the board. 20 hours later, or well, it was around that, I guess. I don't really know for sure.
On the board under neon light, Pebble Boys roll into the fight. Rock hard strong with the stony might. Power plays brewing, gonna seize the night. Bonus cards crashing like a heavy slide. Quiz cards pop up, nowhere to hide. Chains of jail can't hold their stride. Break free, bold heads held with pride. Rok-Sickle swing, how we strike with style. Pebble Boys winning all the while. Shatter the chains, hear the crowd beguile. Rok-Sickle forever, we go the extra mile. Granite minds solve every game's twist. Quartz grit keeps them rolling through the mist. Slate faces focus, every hit persist. Pebble Boys rule, never to be dismissed. Victory echoes from the cavern walls. Every play counts, every step tall. Stack the points, never let them fall. Pebble Boys charge, heed the battle call. Rock types blazing in the heat of play. Bright spark chipping night to day. From jail cells to cheers, we pave our way. Our anthem roars while the band will stay. how we strike with style. Pebble boys winning all the while. Shatter chains, hear the crowd beguile. Rock-Sickle forever, we go the extra mile. Granite lines solve every game's twist. Quartz grit keeps them rolling through the mist. Slates focus, every hit persists. Pebble boys rule, never to be dismissed.
Okay, maybe I overdid it with the confetti at the end there, but I'm pretty impressed with that animation. I remembered some key moments when I was animating. There was a very memorable moment of when I had to animate the Pebble Boy turning the corner. I wasn't animating this in a very good way because all of the body parts of the Pebble Boy were parented to the main stone structure. I would keyframe the body to rock back and forth like that, and then I parented the body to an empty, and then I moved the empty to make it look like he was walking. So the empty would be going in a straight line, and then the body would be rocking back and forth, and it would make it look like he was a very rigid character, and he was bam, 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 he's walking like that. And it was easy if he's going in a straight line, but once he needs to turn the corner, things get a bit more complicated, and I was ending up animating and reanimating, and this part was animated and this part was cancelling out the other animation. That's the problem with having one part animated and then another part that is also affecting the animation of that part. So it took me a while, and it took me multiple attempts at animating that particular moment, but I eventually got it to look good enough from where the camera was positioned at that moment.
Oh là 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 là! Voilà, maintenant je comprends tout.
I used my memory to model a stop sign. If I used a reference to model the stop sign, I probably could have gotten it very close to what stop signs actually look like. Stop signs aren't really that complicated anyway, but the stop sign that I came up with, it has a unique character that only something like the board game Rok-Sickle could provide. And when I animated the stop sign, I used the automatic interpolation. So you go into Blender, you go into the graph editor, you select the options for the keyframe, and then I selected bounce. All I needed to do was just do 2 keyframes and then select bounce, and then as it landed, it went up and down until it lost all of its momentum. And I think that looked pretty cool. But I had a problem with the stop sign. The 2 glowing squares that are next to the stop sign, the 2 options that the Pebble Boy can choose, they were fully illuminating the stop sign, which it wasn't supposed to highlight the stop sign when they were glowing. It was supposed to highlight the spaces that the Pebble Boy can choose. So good thing there's this really nifty feature in Blender called light linking. So I made it in such a way that the stop sign would not be affected by those lights. It still had a bit of green on it, but it was a lot better, and it was not distracting from the 2 squares that I was trying to highlight. And modeling the question booth. I was modeling the question booth. I remembered back to good old Super Paper Mario when there's this chapter. So what happens is Mario descends into the mansion and he finds this maid, and she turns into a spider and shoots rubies. And anyway, he goes into the women's bathroom, and there's a game show there, and there's a question booth, and I had imagined this for this animation. I used that question booth from Super Paper Mario as a reference, and I modeled my own one, but I didn't finish modeling it because I was really excited to continue animating. So later down the line, after I finished the animation, I polished the question booth, and I even gave it these little lamps on the side. I was able to keyframe the emissiveness of texture, so it'll be glowing and it won't be glowing, and it'll be glowing and it'll be won't be glowing and it'll be glowing, and it'll just loop. It was pretty cool. I didn't have to duplicate the keyframes. All I needed to do was just press this with some sort of setting in Blender that would loop the keyframes. And when the quiz card jumps, the Pebble Boy lands on the quiz card space. So the real quiz card goes up, and then the fake quiz card without the rock guy texture descends into the Inquisition area. This clone quiz card has no rock guy on it. I made a rock guy his own model, and then he jumps off of the cart, and I even gave him eyebrows that I can move and animate, so he can move his eyebrows. But nothing else of him moves because he is a stone. I simulated the big red curtain. I had to research all over again how to make a cloth simulation, because in 3ds Max I made a cloth simulation, and then I had to understand how to do it in Blender. You have to do something with the vertex groups and the shape keys. So you have to group the vertexes and you got to mash them together, and set that as a shape key. Don't forget about that. And when I modeled the microphone for Rock Guy, because he has to announce the question somehow, right? I used a reference from Paper Mario The 1,000 Year Door, because there's this section of the game where the Thwomp is asking you a question, and it's yet another game show, and he's got this nifty little microphone. I modeled that microphone. I made it with another bounce interpolation setting, so it will go up like that. Bam! And it's timed to appear when the bonus card zooms away into the distance. And it goes BAM! It's in place. Like that. But who can forget about the confetti celebration at the end? And I followed this tutorial, this 20-minute tutorial by Ryan King Art. Basically, what is happening with these confetti particles, there is an emitter that will send all of these little dots in space going down. And then I modeled little strips of confetti, and they will randomly be assigned to a particle that's floating down. And I may have added too much confetti, if you believe that there is such a thing as too much confetti, but you saw how difficult it was for the Pebble Boy to get to the finish line, so I think it is an adequate celebration. That's how I made a digital version of Rok-Sickle, my board game. And if you'd like to play it for yourself, I've got a link in the description. Hey, wait a minute. Wouldn't it be cool if the board game looked just like the animation? It's quite a bit easier to make Rok-Sickle fully 3D in a Blender animation, but it's another thing to make a dynamic 3D game. So once there's ultra big brainy Grok, like right now we have Grok 3 at the moment of recording, maybe when there's Grok 300, I'll be able to make a 3D version of Rok-Sickle. I hope you enjoyed the Pebble Boys' journey into the digital realm. See you next time!